You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All right, going back to the top story, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Mr. Sanjay Bhattacharya joins us from New Delhi. Mr. Bhattacharya is a former Indian ambassador to Switzerland, Turkey and Egypt. Ambassador Bhattacharya, welcome. Now, Blinken has made a second trip to Israel in less than a month. He has just finished addressing a press conference in Tel Aviv. Blinken says he is asking Israel to minimize civilian casualties in Gaza and the West Bank. At the same time, he has defended Israel's military retaliation to the 7th October attacks by the Hamas. But Netanyahu says Israel will not agree to a temporary truce until the hostages are released. So no common ground, stalemate continues?
It's a very horrific scene that we see out from Gaza. Over 28 days of intensive aerial attacks have now caused more than 9,000 casualties of the Palestinian side. Almost all of them are civilians, women and children being included amongst them. The Israeli attack on Gaza is understandable. However, its ability to not target the civilians, civilian facilities, hospitals, UN centers, schools, relief camps is really inexplicable. And it goes beyond what a war should be. And I think across the world, we are seeing calls for a de-escalation, for reducing the tensions, allowing aid to come in. And I think there is time now that this has to be put into effect. I hope Blinken is persuasive enough to bring a pause, if not a de-escalation of a greater extent, because this is becoming a humanitarian crisis.
Indeed. Ambassador Bhattacharya, in the meantime, Prime Minister Modi of India has spoken to the UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed as well, after he had similar talks with the King of Jordan and the President of Palestine Authority, Mahmoud Abbas as well. But now coming back to Blinken, now Blinken will hold talks in Jordan too. Now, do you think the Arab world is willing to play ball?
Well, it is really for Israel to play ball at this stage. While we all understand the horrific incidents that they've been through, it is now time for them to become a little more reasonable. You see, the objectives of war, which was laid out, which is the obliteration of the Hamas, and to teach the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip a lesson that they would learn for many generations, is an unrealistic one. It cannot be achieved. The leadership of Hamas is not in Gaza. They're sitting in Qatar. So what are we actually going forward with? The Qataris on many occasions have been very useful negotiators in trying to bring about a resolution of many of these issues. There has been some progress on the progress on the incursion, the ingress of humanitarian relief, and about 200-odd trucks have come into the Gaza Strip from the Rafah border. There have also been some negotiations which have led to the release of some of those people of foreign nationality. So there is a window of opportunity for diplomacy and negotiations, and it is absolutely imperative that in order to avoid a humanitarian crisis, which will actually, unfortunately, bedevil Israel more than anyone else in the years to come, that we should try the track of diplomacy and negotiations.
Absolutely. There's another dimension to what is unfolding in West Asia as we speak, Ambassador, with tensions rising along Israel's northern borders with both Lebanon and Syria. How real, I mean, we've been asking this question forever now, how real are the fears of a wider regional war?
I think in the initial days, I was of the opinion, and according to the information that was available, that the expansion of the war to other theaters was highly unlikely. However, if Israel continues to target civilians and cause so much of destruction in the Gaza Strip, and also don't forget this is happening in the West Bank as well, it is obvious that tensions will begin to rise. While regimes, governments of Arabs across the region are understanding of the situation, and many of them have urged that, there should be action, but it should be proportionate. I think if this continues and it tends to escalate further, it'll become more difficult, because there are certain groups in the region who are hostile to Israel. And amongst these would include the people in the north. There are also some from down south, the Houthis in Yemen, who have taken some minimal action. And today, I understand Hassan Nasrallah also spoke in Lebanon.
Indeed.
And I think he took a fairly hard stance and saying that we cannot rule out the option of opening new fronts. I think there is grave desire on the part of Iran, the Hezbollah, the Iraqi, Syrian, and the Yemenis not to expand the war. But I think it is for Israel now to make sure that it does not. But if it continues with this kind of attacks on civilians, it is going to be a very, very difficult situation.
Indeed. And finally, Ambassador Bhattacharya, coming back to the situation inside Gaza as we speak, as you mentioned, more than 9,000 Palestinians have already lost their lives in Israel's response to the 7th October attacks by the Hamas. Do you think the situation will worsen in the days to come?
I'm afraid, given the trend of developments on the Israeli side, where there seems to be a very hardline approach, which is not looking at a resolution, but at a certain retribution, this is likely to continue for a much longer period of time. And I cannot understand, because Israel has been in Gaza before. It has not been an easy place to be in, and it had withdrawn from that area in 2005. It is time that we allow the Palestinians to form their own sort of governance. And any attack like this on the Palestinians, which is actually targeting Palestinians and not just the Hamas, which has led to terrible terrorist activities, but this is affecting Palestinians. And the Palestinian sentiment, which has a reflection in Arab Street, is going to have huge repercussions for Israel.
Ambassador Bhattacharya, pleasure as always to talk to you. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.